When you think of the modern day shooter, what do you think of? Call of Duty, Battlefield, guns, violence, and gore. So when Nintendo, the same company that made games like Mario and Pokemon, announced that they were making a shooter, we didn't know what to think. We were even more shocked by the concept they introduced to us. Splatoon would give us a game where you could play as a squid, and instead of focusing on killing people to win, you would focus on covering turf. However, it was also a very risky move. Unlike Mario, we didn't know anything about it, so if this game didn't sell well, it would fail and we would never see another game like it again. However, a month from its release in May 28, 2015, it already sold 1 million copies worldwide. So what made this game so incredible? We can start off with the controls. In case you don't know, the Wii U, this is your main controller. It has all your standard buttons, except for you have access to a screen on your controller. In Splatoon, you get all your basic controls, walking, running, shooting. However, we also get an interesting control of being able to turn into a squid, which is kind of strange for a shooter. As a squid, you can go back and forth between human and squid. You can go and swim in your own turf, which makes you go extremely fast. It's how you regenerate health and even get ammo. You also can use this touchscreen to see your map, and you can even jump to where another teammate is so you can get back in the game quickly if you die. The multiplayer is split into 2 different modes: Interform, designated by this symbol, and Ranked Battles, which is designated by this symbol. In Interform, which is a more casual, fun mode, your main goal is to have 3 minutes to cover as much turf as you can. You're split into 4-on-4 teams, with each team getting a certain color. These teams are completely randomized every single game, so you never quite know exactly what your teammates' weapons will be or even their skill level. The map is split symmetrically, so you essentially have your base, the enemy's base, and the center. Your goal is to get the center usually, because that's the one area where it's really going to be going back and forth on whoever has control of it. At the end of the game, this little cat named Judd will find out who has the most percentage. So as you can see here, the blue team had more, so they won. Now Ranked Battle is actually split into 2 different game modes, and these are generally more strategic, kill-focused, harder games. The first one is Splat Zones. In this one, you don't have to ink the whole area, but you're only going to focus on one center area. Whoever has control of this area, their timer will begin to count down, with your goal being to get the timer to go down to 0. However, if the other team manages to get the control of that zone, you will get penalty time, and their timer will start going down. The penalty time means that once you get control of that zone again, you will have to wait until the penalty time goes away, and so that your timer can start going down normally. Ranked mode also has ranks in it, of course, as the name would suggest, ranging from C- to A+. Generally, this just means an A+ and so on, you'll have way harder battles than you would in somewhere like C-. Your rank can go up if you get points for winning, and it can go down if you lose too much. You also have tower control, which is kind of like Splat Zones on wheels. In this one, your team wants to stand on top of that tower, and it will start to move on a path to get to a finish line that's essentially in the other team's base. This mode is very hectic, as a lot of times your entire team could die if they're all standing on the tower. It's decided based on whoever gets this goal or whoever got closest in the end. The stages aren't able to be picked by whoever's playing, but they're actually predestined. Every 4 hours. These 2 announcers, named Callie and Marie, the Squid Sisters, will announce the 2 stages for Turf War and the 2 stages for Ranked. There's 9 stages total, with more being added as the year goes on. Here are some example stages, such as Arowana Mall, Walleye Warehouse, and up there is Black Belly Skate Park. Each stage is a lot different, with some being better for staying up high and getting kills, some better for close range combat. There's also one other special event which happens on weekends twice every month, called Splatfest. In Splatfest, you get to choose a team. The last one we had was Cats vs. Dogs in America, and in Europe they had Pop vs. Rock. And on that Saturday, you will have to fight essentially for your team. You get scored based on obviously how many wins you get, but also popularity. So at the end of that day, they're going to tally up the popularity vote, who got the most players in general, and the win vote, who got the most wins overall, and who won. Last time the Dogs won. Now, of course, when it comes to a shooter, your most important thing is your arsenal. What are all the cool weapons you can get? And in this game, instead of using bullets, and now we're having ink, you get a lot more options. There's 3 classes, and the first one, is your shooter. These are your standard guns, which are good for both getting kills and getting turf. They all have different stats based on their range or how far they can shoot. Their fire rate, which is how fast the bullets or ink is going to come out, and the damage, which is how fast they can kill. Then you have your charger, which is essentially your sniper. They're very good for kills, but they aren't as good for covering turf. You're going to see a lot more of these in ranked, where they'll hide up on tall platforms and kill people from below. The more interesting one is the rollers, which is something you can't even really compare to what you've seen in other shooter games. The closest thing you could get is like melee weapons. These ones are extremely good for covering turf. However, it can be hard to kill other people with these unless you're at close range where you can literally run them over. You also get access to a variety of sub-weapons depending on the weapon you choose. These weapons will take up a lot of your ink, but they're also very powerful. You have some standard bombs up here. Your splat bomb is like a grenade. Your sticky bomb is a sticky bomb. You also have ink mines and stuff like sprinklers, which you can actually place down and it'll just cover the turf around it for you. And a really cool one called the splash wall. When you set it up, it'll rain down ink in front of you, so it's kind of like a one-way shield. You can shoot out, but the other team can't shoot in. Some of the really cool ones are your special moves. You get points based on how much ink you cover, and every 200 points, if you haven't died yet, this gauge will fill up and you can use a really powerful move. The one right here is called the Killer Whale. As you set it down, it'll fire a straight beam, which will insta-kill anyone in its path. You also have Bomb Rush, which lets you throw unlimited bombs for about 10 seconds. The Ink Bazooka, which is, as the name implies, an ink bazooka, and a really cool one called the Ink Strike, where you get to send a giant bomb over to the other team's turf. Lastly, you have some really cool fashion options too. Just because you're a squid doesn't mean you can't look totally fresh. The aesthetic to it, they also have some stats to them. As you can see up here, each gear has a sort of a special ability which can really change your play style. They also have sub-abilities which can add in little tinier aspects. And these are your shops. She sells hats, he sells shoes, and he sells shirts. These are all of the different types of abilities you can get, such as getting better strength, faster, more damage, and even really cool ones like Ninja Squid, which makes it so you won't leave a trail behind you when you move in the ink. And then this guy up here in the corner, he's a sea urchin named Spike, literally a street urchin, and he can reroll your abilities if you don't like the set you currently have. As you can see, Splatoon has really made a name for itself in the shooting genre. It showed us that not all shooters need to have violence and gore to be fun. So, as Callie and Marie would put it, until next time, stay fresh!